I know you are referring to Gochandra and me, Maharaj, the old people thing.
Yeah, we're all old. That's a fact. We're all older, but young in heart, for sure. Well, there's Arjun. Arjun with the fish. Okay.
I'm driving home. That's why I don't like to get probably pretty loud in here. But I hear the class at least. It's a pleasure to always see you. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Haribol. Nice to see you. Great. Okay, I guess we should get started, right? Would that be okay with everyone?
Yes.
All right. I guess the last time was a week ago. Yeah, there was. I'll just give you a little report. At least across Canada, we had 8 centers that were protesting against the Bangladesh attacks at temples, and so they're including Buddhist temples now too. The violence continues on, but it's somewhat subdued. We like to appreciate all those devotees who were involved in the kirtan protests that we had. What do you call it? Spiritual aggressiveness. Thank you. Very sad situation over there. So let's begin then with Prabhupada Pranam mantras. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Vishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminate Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Uravani Pricharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadesha Tarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Jnana Timirandasya, everyone.
Om Jnana Timirandasya.
Jnananjana Shalakaya.
Jnananjana Salakaya.
Chakshurun Militang Yena.
Satsarum Militam Jena.
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
I was born in the darkest ignorance. I was.
Born in the darkest ignorance.
And my spiritual master opened my eyes.
My spiritual master opened my eyes.
With the torch of knowledge.
With the torch of knowledge.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto him.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto him.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So our host is going to tell us which verse it is. I believe it's 1033.
Yes, Maharaj.
If I'm not mistaken. Okay. All right. So Aksharanam Akarosmi Dvanva Samasitkasya Aham Eva Sava Kalo Dhataham Vishvato Mukkaha. And the translation of letters, I am the letter A. And among compound words, I am the dual compound. I am also inexhaustible time. And of creators, I am Brahma. Yeah. And the purport, someone can take the lead on this today. I'll let our host decide who can do that.
Sankalpa, you want to go? And then Kirti?
Sounds good to me.
Sankalpa, you there? Okay, Kirti, go.
Hare Krishna, sorry, I just came to the screen. Which verse are we on?
Okay, it's on the screen. It's Akara. Number 30.
Okay, 1033. Sorry. Okay. Of letters, I am the letter A, and among compound words, I am the dual compound. I'm also inexhaustible time, and of creators, I'm Brahma. Akara, the first letter of the Sanskrit alphabet, is the beginning of the Vedic literature. Without akara, nothing can be sounded. Therefore, it is the beginning of sound. In Sanskrit, there are also many compound words, of which the dual word, like Ram, Krishna, is called Dvandva. In this compound, the words Rama and Krishna have the same form, and therefore the compound is called dual. Among all kinds of killers, time is the ultimate because time kills everything. Time is the representative of Krishna because in due course of time, there will be a great fire and everything will be annihilated.
Okay, that's good. Let's just get another voice in there and a little more participation. It's short but sweet. Someone else, please.
Kirti.
Starting from among all kinds, right, Mataji? I'm just making sure because it was about downloading.
Oh, you can read that again if you like. Okay, go ahead.
Among all kinds of killers, time is the ultimate because time kills everything. Time is the representative of Krishna because in due course of time, there will be a great fire and everything will be annihilated. Among the living entities who are creators, Brahma, who has 4 heads, is the chief. Therefore, he is a representative of the Supreme Lord Krishna.
Jai Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for the readers. And just in this verse, we're looking a little bit at some Sanskrit background, which I have no, let's say, training in whatsoever. So I'm not going to volunteer to say anything about that first part of the verse. The only thing that resonates with me is the letter A, because it's very Canadian. A. And unless if there's somebody who studied a little Sanskrit, we would ask that person to come forward, and if there's anything they can verify here, that would be very nice. Do we have anybody on the call that can help us with that in terms of what Prabhupada had to say? Okay, if not, then we'll hop over to the issue of time. I am also inexhaustible time. Time appears in a few places in the Gita. And for instance, it is one of the subjects that is discussed, one of 5 major topics that appears in the Bhagavad Gita. Namely, we have Ishvara, that's God. We have Jiva, that's the living entity. We have Prakriti, which is material energy. We also have Karma, which means activities, movement, functions. And then finally, we have time, Kala, which is a representation of God. And it's, definitely a very prominent presentation of the absolute representation. Time seems to be there to do a major job on all of us, and there's some famous quotes about time, which you've all heard. Remember Chanakya Pandit? Chanakya Pandit speaks about that you cannot buy back time with any amount of, gold coins or precious stones. You can't. Whatever's gone is gone. It's finished. So that's how time works. It's kind of relentless, really. And then we've all heard that time is money. And, does anybody know where that comes from? I actually looked at it. It comes from an essay by Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of the US. He used that term, time is money. And of course, anybody who's paying a salary to their workers, their employees, they know that every hour counts. And they look at everything as all seconds, minutes, and it's all time that's gone wasted. And Prabhupada used to always use this quote. He says, time and tide wait for no man. I believe it's an English expression. So time, we know, we deal with it every single day. Tide is something, when you live by the ocean, you understand that when the tide comes in, it can come in a very forceful way. And with water just kind of like rushing in suddenly. And then it retracts, it goes back. There's this one place in New Brunswick, it's called the Petty Kodiak River, and tourists come there all the time. Within 1 hour, this river, which is very muddy, like a sort of a chocolatey color, light chocolate, light milk chocolate. It just rises with it, like within 1 hour. Just don't be there at that time. And it's a big tourist attraction to see what the tide does. And then of course the tide comes in and the tide goes out. So it's related to time. And they almost are spelled the same, just there's a difference in the letter, okay? Because when the tide comes in and then it retracts, it's just meaning that it's a measure of time, and you always have to look at time. That it seems to come and make many changes. And let's see. There's also a saying, lost time is never found again. Along the lines with what Chanakya Pandit said. Lost time, you cannot get it back. Once it's vanished, it's down the river, it's down the creek. You'll never find it. And I really like one particular quote. First of all, let's go to sort of a business person way of thinking. Time is the most valuable thing that a person can spend. That's nice. But the one that I really like, which is out there, is the two most important warriors are patience and time. Those are the two commodities or elements that you use as pillars in your life. Yeah, so something there about time. It's good stuff. And if we didn't have a fixed time, every Thursday from 5 to 6, that is if you're in Eastern Standard Time, and if you're out there in what you call the mountain time, right? You're going to be 2 hours, a little different, but it's the same every week that we've been running this for some time now. Okay, and we like to thank Vaishnavi, and totally behind her is Ananta Shesh for being timely about this. Yay! Prabhupada worked with time, and he liked everything to be punctual, especially when it comes to puja. For artis, dressing of the deities, he liked 2 things, punctuality and cleanliness. He was finicky about that. He was quite meticulous that these things go on. It's doable. It's something you can gauge. It's by time. But Prabhupada would be kind of annoyed if in Vrindavan, the chowkidar, the security guy, didn't ring the bell on time. And so he found that they were sleeping. So then he came up with an idea. We'll have them on the hour ring the bell. Ding, and it's 2 o'clock. Ding, ding, 3 o'clock, ding, 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 and go so on like that. This way they couldn't sleep. They had to be alert. They could do their job. And also, if you're sleeping in the middle of the night and you're wondering what time is it, you're tossing and turning, and suddenly you hear, because like bell metal, it just has this sound that pierces through the atmosphere. It's just something you can hear. It's very audible. In this way, time almost has sound added to it. But being at a beach, and then the waves come in, or even the smallest wave, there's hardly wind, and it goes, just go, and it's very soothing. According to Ayurveda, we should be by water that makes noise, Yeah, so it's nice. Time is a great factor, but it is a killer. It's inexhaustible. Time will always exist. And in the 11th chapter, time is also mentioned. And yeah, we'll look at that when we get to that point. So in this chapter alone, time comes up at least 2 times between verse 20 and 40. Okay. He says, of some doers I am time. And now in the verse today, it says, I am inexhaustible time. So time takes a big precedence. If twice it's mentioned amongst these verses, it means it has a relative amount of importance that we have to consider. Time is important. Would anybody like to speak about their realizations on the principle of time? How it impacts us? I think I might have mentioned last week that my experience is that if you do things on time, a lot of clarity will come to you. A lot of people who don't honor time, they're quite confused. They're usually late, never on time. But if they actually become timely in their practices, everything will just kind of fall in place real nice. We have to believe in that. So Krishna's time. Go to Chandra, you had something you want to say?
Yes, Maharaj, a couple of things that we hear all the time, like
All the time.
people they say, I'm buying time, or I'm killing some time. And I tell them, you cannot buy time, and time is killing you.
Yes, that's right. Great. Yes, it's kind of the reverse. Yeah, you can buy time. How do you buy time? What did we mean by that? Buying a watch or a clock? What do we mean by that?
I have a comment.
Because they think that time is coming out of a clock or a watch.
Yeah. Well, it is a registry of the time. So we're very used to having clocks and having devices like on our phone even, just to measure time. But it's funny to see people who seem to have less time, even though, the time is measured so much more now than probably ever before. Yes, but Nandashish Prabhu.
Okay, I have 2 short comments. In the mundane world, the Apple CEO Steve Jobs, before he died, he was commenting that he wished he had more time. And another one is, in our interactions with you, we have seen that you are very, very punctual. You have imbibed that quality of Prabhupada very much. Thank you.
Oh, you're very well. Sometimes I've been late, and sometimes I drop off. Everybody knows the history. I just vanish. But yeah, we try to be on time. Thank you very much for being there every week.
Maharaj,
Yes.
Maharaj, when we travel to India, we lose time. When we come back, I gain time.
You gain time. That's right.
The only confusion, Ekadashi day, we do fasting. So I have a problem of how long should we do Gayatri when we have on the flight.
Can everybody hear him, or is it just me that's having trouble?
No, I couldn't hear him clearly.
Yeah, it's breaking up. He's breaking up.
Dharma, we want to hear what you have to say. So somehow or other, can you make it more clear?
During the Ekadashi time, say you are traveling.
Yes.
And if you're going towards India, then the day is very long for you. You don't know what time you should break the fast. And same vice versa, when you return, you have different time zone. We don't know what time to, break the fast.
Well, one solution, somebody asked me that. So you want to know what would be the best way of handling this question? Is that?
Yes, right. Best way of handling the time.
One easy way to handle, just fast all the way through. for the next couple of days.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
But that's actually quite hard to do because on the plane it's so monotonous and so boring, you know. One of the few things that excites you is when a meal comes your way. And, you know, there's this energy suddenly that everyone's doped out totally, you know, and suddenly, you know, the people come out with the carts and then they can smell the food. Oh, oh, and they all get like you know, like a coffee percolator. Oh, you know, and suddenly you hear all this rapping going, all this noise. And I was raised on the farm. My father used to have this kind of like what's kind of like a flour left from the a powder left from the wheat, and he would mix that with water, and he would put it in a trough. And as soon as the trough, he banged the trough against or his bucket that he put this slop in, whatever that's what he called it. And as soon as he banged the bucket, the metal bucket against the trough, immediately the pigs, and they all come and they just fight for the stuff. It just go absolutely wild. That's what it reminds me on the train. The hogs are at the trough. Okay, so now what about Akadashi? You know, with these kind of things, I've had to deal with it for many years. And it's sometimes a little hard to calculate. So what I do is I sometimes jump ahead. And I say, once I'm on the plane, let's say if I'm in India and I'm going to the US, you know. So as soon as you're on the plane, I consider I'm in the US, you know, and I'll go by whatever's going on at that time. And the reverse, if I'm in North America and I'm going to India, I might jump ahead to do what they're doing there. I just have to think of it very carefully. It's because you're really doing something very radical with time. You're almost like, you know, adding on hours and then and subtracting hours. So almost like you're cheating on time, you know?
Yeah.
You know, you're cheating on time. And so I guess you could just play the game a little bit and just figure it out. I'll break my fast. It's a break fast time in India now, even though it's not with my, I mean, how can you, there's no other way to calculate like when you're up in the air, unless if you're super fussy and super fanatical. You know, and we tend to be sometimes, you know, the details become almost, you know, let's say a detriment to us. Yes. So Nitai Priya, you've got your hand up, right? So would you like to say something about this?
Oh, Hare Krishna Maharaj, Hare Krishna devotees. Yes, I was just wanting to appreciate something that you really ingrained into my life and that I've tried to share with other people when we were, you know, touring with the theater troupe.
Mm-hmm.
And you would always say, if you're not early, you're late.
Mm-hmm.
And you would say that, and it's like I think of it every day. If you're not early, you're late. So I just want to thank you for that. So whenever I'm trying to get ready for something, I try to plan that I arrive half an hour or 45 minutes earlier than what I'm supposed to, and then usually I might be on time. Because you just never know, especially when we were traveling on the road, and you know, you don't know if the traffic or trying to get a plane, and you just like for every scenario when you are saying if you're not early or late, it applies to pretty much everything in life. So I just wanted to say thank you, and hopefully that can inspire someone else as well.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And you know, the thing is, if you're not spot on, then it just means you're late, because that time of being totally accurate, it's such a, there's a small leeway, just practically nothing. Like if you're talking about a second, or if you're trying to get on time within the minute, it's very difficult to do. So it was Bhaktivinoda Thakur who always had a habit to be in a place, if he had an appointment, to be there an hour ahead. He'd always do that. And these days, like if you live in a big city, in a modern city in North America or developing, or even like in India, you know, plan an hour ahead before you go somewhere, you know. I mean, nowadays you can't use traffic as an excuse anymore, right? You can say, oh, I'm late because of the traffic. Well, you don't understand the traffic in your city. So plan it, just get out there much earlier. Yeah. And really, I truly believe in this. Our minds are very foggy. We have lots of cobwebs stored in our mind, and things get very hazy and crazy. So if you actually work very closely with time, it's my firm belief, then everything becomes very clear. You know, whatever queries you have in your life, whatever doubts are even there, you know, work with time and things will clear up for you. Answers will come. And why? Because Krishna says, I am time. He says, of subduers, I am time. You know, if something is, you know, agitating you and you want to subdue it, well, start working with time. You know, and one nice way to measure time is, you know, do it by chanting Hare Krishna. You know, it's one way to know what the time is. If you have an idea how much it takes you to do a round of japa. And for many people, it's 2 hours to do those 16 rounds. Yes, so again, 2 times it's mentioned here in this group of verses. So there's some importance or relevance that has to be given to the time factor, right? And then we're going to hear about it again. It'll come up to us in chapter 11. Anything else with time?
Yeah, something that comes to my mind for us is that so because here in this material world we have a timeline. So when we are born, it's already kind of fixed. The karma we meet during our lifetime at certain times in our life. So like in the eternal world where we don't have karma, so there's no timeline, there's just spontaneous past times and not thinking of time. But here we are punished. So every life we have certain amount of punishment and it comes at certain times.
Right, yeah, you use the word very many times, time. Yes, very much. A lot of people keep time with a chime, you know. And I think if you're always on time, then you can say you're mine. And the time is when you're working with as opposed to against. Especially for spiritual functions, we should be on time. Don't you think, Prabhu? Don't you feel that's very important? You know, for spiritual events, the things that really are, that will deepen your spirituality, that's when we should definitely pay super attention. If you
like our pujaris around the world and all the temples, so they know what punctuality is.
Yes, yes, that's right. In fact, yeah, it's so much sort of ingrained in our pujaris of the system throughout the world that, you know, if you're standing waiting for the doors to open, if they're a minute or half a minute late, we start talking like they're late. And we usually say it a little bit loud so the pujari will hear it. They're late today. So then they get the idea. No, we're quite militant about it. We're very rigid about it. That's why I see all over the world. We have to really honor our pujaris for being like that. And you know, another reason why it is important to be on time, in places where the clock has not been such an integral part of a culture, when the pujari blows the conch before an arti, that this is a sign that, oh, I know what time it is right now. So pujaris were amazing timekeepers. Amazing timekeepers. Another way that you may know, I traveled with the bus tour a few times, you know, and we would be in the country, lake country, and you know that there's a time when you've got to close all the bus windows and the bus doors because the mosquitoes will come out, and that is at that what they call the magical hour or something. That's when all the moose and the deer come out, because it's their time to get out of the dense bush, so that they have to address the mosquitoes that are coming and eating them alive practically. So when they come out in the open road, which they tend to do at that time, at dusk and at dawn, which is when these bugs are really, really active, they have a chance to now have the wind perhaps, stave off some of these things. So yeah, it has to do with the movement of the sun, isn't it? So much about the movement of the sun and the moon. And we don't always pay attention to these things. Going up and traveling in the north, if any of you have ever heard the sound of a loon, you could look it up, the cry of a loon. A loon is like a bird, it looks like a duck, and they enter our lakes here in the summer, and then it's more of a northern bird, frankly. You don't find them just anywhere. And then they go to the Atlantic. Mostly they go to the Atlantic, and they change their color a little bit. They're jet black, and they have, let's say piercing red eyes, and they have also stark white patches, white dots on their back. They're amazing. They're very intelligent. And so they work very much with time. I call them the Northern Pujari because they're always on time. Anything else about time that you, Bruce, would like to offer? We have time. We actually have time.
Yes. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Actually, I have a question about the time. Like with the mercy of Prabhupada, like I can finish my rounds before AM, like after attending Mangalarti and before Mangalarti, I can finish that one. But I am facing like a problem in reading Prabhupada's book. Like I feel that I don't have it, but I really want to read like his books. Like I'm in the middle of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. I'm attending a course, Bhagavad Gita course, and Srimad Bhagavatam. Like I have started, but like I feel like I can never finish this one because I don't have like time to read, and I'm in the middle of a Prabhupada Leela Amrit and the science of self-realization, but like I don't know how to manage time just to read all of his books. Like there are so many books.
Well, yeah, that's true. And if you're a working person, it's a little bit hard to find that time. But what I find in general, if you get some of the basics down on time, Krishna will help you to manage time. That's the point. When you don't squander time, time will just kind of work in your favor. You'll end up finding a little bit of time here, a little bit of time there for reading or reflecting, all those kind of things that you like to do. Yeah. So I'd put the horse before the cart, say work with time, and time will work for you. It will. I firmly believe in that.
Okay.
And you have to be kind of strict about it every day. If you're like up too late, you're just doing, you're doing things that influence your sleeping habits, and it's going to be very hard to operate for the next day. So try to work with time as best as you can.
Okay, Maharaj, thank you.
I thought somebody might ask a little bit about Ekadashi. Oh, Maharaj, it says that you have to break fast. We're fasting from grains on the Ekadashi. Then it gives us some indication when that break fast time is. The auspicious time is, say, from 6:34 to 10:19. So in that window of opportunity, some devotees get quite, let's say, fanatical about it. Some do. They said, we have to finish by such and such a time. We should break fast now. It's the auspicious moment. Well, Prabhupada never was very finicky about that. He never got it down to minutes and seconds. What he did was he simply broke fast when it was breakfast time. Breakfast, what we call break fast. Break your fast. and from the day before, from the night before. And we just do it after the morning program's over. Whenever you have the time, just that. And all I would like to say is that if we get too meticulous about things, it has to be done from this time to that time, exact, on the button. Then I think we're not going to attract a lot of people that just say, these people are just too strict, And so I believe Prabhupada was practical once again. And you follow the program in the morning, you're finished by 8:30, and then you get a break fast. You take your breakfast. Those who are working people, most of us we don't have in our temples a strong monastic element much anymore, but we have a lot of power in the grihastas. So they definitely have to figure out their own plan. One thing Prabhupada said about deity worship also, he said 10 to 4, that means sleep at 10, up by 4, you just work around the deities. And those are the two figures he gave us. Yeah, any questions about that, about when to break the Ekadashi? Perhaps you all know the story of Durvasa Muni. I can tell you in brief, but if we have any questions, let me know. Sharing of information about time.
I don't have a question, but two others have answers.
Okay, we got to Arjuna as a question. Go ahead, Arjuna.
Annapurna has a question.
I think he has to unmute, right?
Annapurna has a question and Nitai Priya has her hands up.
Okay, so Annapurna, would you like to start?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Hare Krishna to all the devotees on the call.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about time as in, say, not wasting time and being on time. And I was just rereading the purport, and this line really stuck out to me. Among all kinds of killers, time is the ultimate because time kills everything. And the first thing that came to my mind was time as in past, present, or future, and how much time can be killed by either being in the past or being in the future and not being in this present time. So that's what sort of came up for me when I was reading that line.
Oh, I think that's really good. I think the human operation inside our psyche is such that we like to spend a little time in the past every day. We do like to spend some time in the future, with plans and so on like that. We have these ideas, we sort of implant them on our, against the sky, the backdrop, or in your room and so on like that. I think it's natural to go live in the past a little bit and go into the future. But the most important thing is to try to focus on the present moment, be here now, in other words, to be attentive to details as they are at this present time. And then we will perform better and it will build for a better future. You can, work towards your dreams. Yeah. But for those people who end up so much in the past, it tends to be, people tend to get a little bit emotional, and it can also set them into depression. A lot of emotions come from being so much in the background. We get nostalgic, we get all these kind of emotions flare up quite a lot. And so looking into the future, the same thing. It's important to look ahead, taking a few steps quicker than you normally would do. It is important to do that. You have to have some vision. We say that. You have to be a little bit of a visionary. What it is now, what's going to look like 5 years from now? What's your space going to be like? So it's good to be a little bit, sorry?
Oh, I was just going to share because, the experts, they always say when you're too much in the past, you're dealing with depression. And when you're too much in the future, you're dealing with anxiety. And those are killers. Those are killers of the current time that we're in right now. So that's sort of what was coming up. And I was thinking about when I was
No,
reading that.
no, thank you. And we have the phrase in the Gita. It says "Nashochati Nakangchati," which means hankering and lamenting. Those are the two, areas of the football field that you're either one of the two teams. That seems to be where most people are at. Either you're with the hankering team or you're with the lamentation. So hankering is all this anticipation, which can create an incredible amount of restlessness and uneasiness. But if we are very much now in the present, our feet are on the ground, our head's not too much in the clouds, then you can make progress, incredible progress. Yeah. A big part of chanting Hare Krishna on the beads is to let me be in the present moment. My dear Lord Shri Krishna, please help me engage me in your devotional service. Very much communicating with Krishna, being very present. And you know how the mind is when you chant, you can really be Timbuktu 1 second, and then you could be way over in, up in Antarctic, or, looking at some penguins, chanting Hare Krishna, a line from John Lennon. Yeah, so it is important to try to be very much in the present. Yeah. Pay attention to what's going on. Pay attention to details is something Prabhupada used to say. Pay attention to details. And when you don't, you try to cut corners, and then you're not happy with what's going on at the present moment. A lot of people are not happy with their work, but if you actually pay attention to many details, you'll find that time will fly. It really starts moving. But as soon as you're lamenting, oh, when are we going to be finished? You keep looking at your watch or something, and when is there a coffee break, or when am I off for the day? It just means you're very anxious. You actually don't respect time. Yeah. Thank you. We have another. Was it Nita Priya? Was the other person that wanted to say something more? Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. Sorry, I don't mean to take too many turns. I just wanted to thank Kirti Sharma Mataji for mentioning about, finding time to read. It really reminded me of the importance of that, and not feeling like there's time. And it reminded me of some instruction I got from a wise devotee once, and they said that it's the regulation that's more important than the amount of time for certain things. So they said, even if I just take 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, and just read like one verse of the Gita, and do that every day. Everybody's got 5 minutes, not everybody has 15 minutes, but everybody's got 5 minutes. So I just want to thank you for bringing that up, because it totally reminded me of that, and it kind of kicked me in the butt, realizing like I need to implement that. And yeah, they said it's the regulation that will help you progress faster than the amount of time that you're spending. So and also thank you to Annapurna for reminding us to live in the now, and Maharaj for mentioning the import of contemplating the past in order to learn, and planning for the future, but really living in the moment through it all. So thank you to the devotees for these wonderful reminders.
Yeah, oftentimes, thank you so much. When we live in so much in the past, the implication is depression, right? Which is tamaguna. And when we're too far ahead of the game, then it's rajas, the mode of passion. When you're very much in the present, it means you are currently, your feet are on the ground, and this is very much where you want to be, and that we call it sattva-guna, mode of goodness. Right? So those are the things to consider about the 3 phases of time. Anybody else have some points they'd like to raise on the principle of time?
Somebody else has their hands up. Manasi Ganga?
Yes, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Hare Krishna. How are you?
Yes, Maharaj. Good Maharaj. So I got one question regarding Gayatri Mantra chanting. So it's supposed to be half an hour before after sunset. So sometimes it's not possible for me to do in that
That's
time.
right. Not only for you, but all the rest of us as well. You know, we don't really move with the sun so much. That's really the problem. But our lives are regulated a little bit more by what is the what are your work hours? When does everybody have to go to work? When does everybody have to go to school? And that then will somewhat shape when you have to do your Gayatri. But try to hit a spot on like noon. It's very clear for everyone what is noon,
Yes.
right?
Yes, Maharaj.
What is noon time? We can get our Gayatri done at noon as much as possible. Again, it depends on your workplace. They don't give you time to do that so much. But, so sunrise, it's a little deceptive because trying to be very meticulous about the rendering of Gayatri mantras before the sun rises, because we have short days. Now we're approaching shorter days, right? Longer nights. And so it's very hard to determine when to do. But I think the most important thing is to be very regulated about it. To be regulated, to do this Gayatri before, when it's a quiet moment, when there's no disturbance or in the atmosphere, and again, as best as possible, try to be regulated on it. People are quite regulated about eating, that's really important. You go to school and the bell rings and everyone gets excited, and nobody takes their time. Nobody. It's all the world of passion at that moment. As soon as the prasadam comes out, everyone gets very excited, and that determines when, you should be eating as soon as the bell goes. Yeah. So it's described, it's a little bit like that. In the Krishna book, or is it Nectar of Devotion, the spiritual master goes around in the ashram and rings a bell to indicate now it's time to get up for everybody. That's a little bit like boot camp, I guess. A little bit of boot camp has to be in everybody's life. A little bit of austerity. So the point is, try to be very regulated about it. And it's not always, so it's very hard to be staunch about, if you go strictly by the sun's appearance and its disappearance.
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you,
Yeah,
Maharaj.
no problem. Anybody else have something they want to share on this topic? Adhikarta, it's nice to see your form. Jai Shri Vrinda, any questions? Curtis, anything?
Nitai Priya, go. You have one more question.
No, sorry, I forgot to put my hand down. Sorry. Go ahead, Curtis.
I just asked Curtis if he has something. I don't think he put his hand up.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I apologize. I was in the store handling some business.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm glad you're spending some time there.
I had to, or they won't honor my insurance on these precious stones.
Okay. I gotcha. Okay, so then let's just look at the last piece of this verse, this shloka. We're going at it in a nice way by simply covering one verse per sitting. Okay, the last item among the living entities of creators, I am Brahma. Okay, I think we touched on that a little bit last week. So Brahma is the secondary creator. He was not there in the beginning. He was born. And then we see he's Aja. Aja means unborn, not born under normal circumstances. But he was born. He came out of the belly of a man, Vishnu, not a woman, not Lakshmi. Lakshmi was there though. She was involved in the process of the birth of Brahma. I hope everybody understands that. She was massaging the feet of Vishnu when Vishnu gave birth to Brahma. And since Vishnu is already there and he's the creator, therefore we say of Brahma, he's the secondary creator. Secondary creator. And I think the way Prabhupada taught us, we don't give too much credence to Brahma. He's there, challenges Krishna sometimes. But it's ultimately Krishna who's talking about, I am time, story of the worlds. I am time, I'm this ultimate subduer, and so on. And what creates death in the world is time, all those things. So when you die, you better be thinking about Krishna, because that death is Krishna, right? Isn't it? When you're dying, it means Krishna's come to you. Hopefully the Yamadutas aren't around, but if he's there, the Yamadutas don't care to come around. The Yamadutas are agents of the Lord of Death. They don't look pretty, they look pretty unsightly, let's put it that way. And they've got this negative energy, but they're doing their job. Good. Anything else then in regards to the principle of time? Because that seems to be the element that we're sticking to the most in this particular verse 33.
It seems, Maharaj, sorry. It seems like, sorry, Prabhu, go ahead and speak.
I just wanted to say a comment on birds and time. There is an owl that comes by my house every Christmas Eve and hoots. And it's always there. Been there every year.
Wow.
So they really do have a good sense of time.
Well, it's amazing. Thank you for bringing that up. It's amazing how many elements in nature are extremely punctual about what there's like a built-in clock in them. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty incredible how nature works like this. This big piece of machinery that we call nature. And, you've got like the example of the birds and other animals who work very instinctively, which Prabhupada says the instinct is actually Paramatma within, motivating everybody. Yeah, good. And Sankalpa, you had something you want to say?
No, just wanted to mention that the moment death comes or somebody finds out that they're having a terminal illness, then many people, they start to pray. They feel their heart is closer to Krishna, to God.
Yeah, there's a sense of urgency. Like now, it's the fall season, so people have got the idea. There's also, we got to fix the roof before the winter sets in. Or, if the rainy season's coming up, like those of you who are in hurricane country said, you realize you have to, do some work on the outside exterior of your building. Otherwise, when the hurricane comes in, it's like it can force its way and just pull everything apart. Yeah. So these are all signs which are good signs. Autumn is the time to get ready for winter, and when you get a little older, it's like the autumn of your life. You've got to get more prepared. Prepare for what? Well, to cultivate your spiritual life, your Krishna consciousness. So these are all good signs to do with time.
Maharaj,
Yes.
Vasanta has her hands up.
Okay, Vasanta. Okay, sure, please. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I just wanted to add to what Curtis was saying. I was reading, Audubon, and it said that bar-tailed godwits, they migrate from New Zealand from Alaska to New Zealand, New Zealand to Alaska, and they were tracking these flocks, and apparently one bird always started its migration on March 25th from New Zealand to Alaska.
Wow.
For last 13 years.
Which birds are these? What kind? I didn't catch that.
Bar-tailed godwit.
Okay. I'm not sure of that one, but Yeah. See, there you go. See how there's incredible accuracy in the way nature operates. You know?
Yes.
And we're pretty bad at it. You know, we're very casual about so many things. You know? Well, thank you very much. I can. Time is a tricky thing. Seems like just 30 seconds ago before we started to get on this call. Now 1 hour practically has passed.
Maharaj, I think Vaishnavi Mataji had a question earlier. I'm not sure if she's had a chance to.
Okay, Vaishnavi, sure, please.
No, I was going to say bees. Even every day you can go out to the garden, you will see bees have their own timings also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, from nature, you know, from the bees, from the loon, from you know, these particular birds, and or the owl at midnight or whatever, you know, they're like gurus to us. You know, they're sending signals to us to just remind us of, you know, what should be premier in our life. And so it's good. In the Bhagavatam also we hear about that there's many gurus that you can adopt in your life, you know. There's many gurus that nature provides. Good. Good. Can I share with you my latest poem?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, hang on. Okay, we're back in time. Okay, there's only one person I shared this with, you know, so far pretty much. Okay, this is called About Bhakti, or It's About Bhakti. Contrary to popular belief, strength lies in humility, whereas weakness does in pride. Our base, set in simplicity, puts complexities to the side. Pleasures ignite from stimulus, but that is so short-lived. Long-term comes from vigilance, when cheap thrills will outlive. Entertainment may lift us up, but education takes us higher. Spectators don't always see close up. It's through wisdom we're inspired. We define ourselves in bodily terms, yet the body is just a shell. Our observing this shell confirms that it's within that we do dwell. Happiness happens in receiving, and that is certainly true. However, the item that is most pleasing is when one gives to him and you. Hare Krishna. So,
Okay,
I want to thank you all very much.
Beautiful, beautiful
Krishna.
poem. Thank you.
What is the title of this poem?
About Bhakti.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're looking forward to seeing you all next week. And I'm leaving for the East Coast tomorrow. Wish me well, but where I am, I should be no problem with being on the call with you wherever I am. That's probably going to be somewhere in New Brunswick or something like that. Oh, New Brunswick, where they have the highest high tide in the world. Yes, yes. All right. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Any of you?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Just want to remind everyone, we do have the mantra retreat. That's all the ladies who are on the call. Get your man to sign up. Okay? Get your man to sign up for the mantra retreat. Husbands, sons, grandfathers, sign up for mantra, MAN-TRA.org. and it'll tell you how to register. Okay?
Okay.
And
Thank you,
don't worry.
Maharaj. Yes, we will.
Yeah,
Yes.
please do that. Thank you, Haripad. Thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yes, the
Thank you,
address.
Haripad.
Hare Krishna.
Raj, Dandavat Pranams.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Uh,